Roughly 30% of all charitable giving in the United States happens in the month of December. About 10% lands in the last 3 days of the year. Most missionaries meet that season with one letter, written the week of Christmas, sent to a list that they haven't even talked to since spring. So the missionaries who raise real money at year end almost never start in December. They start now. So I'm Mary Valoni, and this is my good friend, Mike Kim. And together we've coached thousands of missionaries through Fully Funded Academy. Every year we watch the same thing happen in December. And every year the difference comes down to what people do in the month of September. So Mike, let's talk about it.
This is where we talk about strategy, right? There's one thing to rely on God. We totally get that. Living by faith is an amazing journey. And we also want to fix some of these leaky buckets. And a lot of times we, over the course of time, feel like we're going to the well one too many times. We're asking for a bailout one too many times. And while God can come through in a lot of ways, he also teaches us to think long term. He didn't tell Noah, hey, just sit around, an ark will float by the ocean one day and you guys just go out and get it and board it, right? He's like, build this, here are the specifications, build this by this time, and so on and so forth. So this is where I kind of look at this from a marketing standpoint. A lot of the strategic communication that I've done over the course of my career, December decides itself way earlier than most people think. Here's why. Year-end giving is not impulsive. People decide who they're giving to before they decide how much, right, Mary? I mean, like, you work with these organizations, they're like, no, I give every year. I give every year to this organization, but that relationship when it started somewhere. So if you wait till Christmas, if you wait till December 20th or whatever, people, they've already made that decision. And if you think about it from their position, if you only ask them in December, you're asking them to do two really big things at one time. Number one, remember you, because you haven't stayed in touch with them regularly. And then number two, just give, right? That's a lot to ask of them, especially when they're in the hectic season of Christmas and the holidays, and so forth. So, the way that we look at it is any gift that you don't get, any support that you don't get at that time of the year isn't probably a no. It's more they didn't really have you at top of mind when they were making that decision several weeks or several months earlier. And if you've ever had anyone skip a year, right, that's usually the reason. Like, oh, I haven't heard from Mary for a while. Oh, I've met this other person or this other cause, and I want to support them. And then they get a letter from you in December. Ooh, sorry. That's how it works, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And if you're hearing this and you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I already feel a little bit behind, it's okay. It's more than okay. You didn't have training to know that this was something that's a problem. So this video is just meant to be a tool for you so that you can create a plan and you can actually have this. And we're going to just talk about this over the next 4 months, what this looks like so that you know what is the strategy? How do I do this? And so we're just going to talk through this. This is something that we teach inside of our academy, inside of Fully Funded Academy. It's nothing super complicated. And I think sometimes people get really overwhelmed, like, oh, I've got to have this like super plan. Like I've got to have all these things mapped out. It's like, no, all we're doing is we're just going to increase our communication so that people don't hear from us now. And then they're wondering like, where have you been the whole year? Where have you been throughout this whole thing? So go ahead and give us the word runway in the comments so we know who's like building this one, like you're ready to do this. And then we'll come back to that in just a little bit. Okay. So
Right. I love the word runway because I don't want to land the plane without the runway. We can't take off without the runway. So yeah, it starts in September. We're publishing this in August. Real quick, if you're watching this right when this episode publishes, we do have an upcoming webinar where we do a full-length training on this year-end strategy. Just go into the show description and you'll see that link, fullyfundedacademy.com/webinar. Mary, let's start in September. I'll kick off in September. What we want to do in September, We want to email regularly. This is a huge obstacle for a lot of people. But if you check out some of the videos that are on our channel, especially recently, we had so many missionaries that we have interviewed just in the last 3 to 6 months on our channel. When we asked them what has been the biggest leverage point, what has moved the needle the most, it's more consistent communication via email. So a lot of folks, when they first encounter us, they're like, I only send one email every 4 months, 3 months. Well, if your people don't open your emails, if you have a low open rate, let's just say 20%, 25%, that means they're only reading one email out of four the entire year. So you've got to increase the velocity of which you communicate. So September is a really natural time to do this. A lot of change happens in September. Kids go back to school, Mary, right? Like your
Yeah.
daughter's getting ready get back to school over here in the United States. Football season starts. I don't know. I don't know what it is about football, but it's like school, football. For a lot of businesses and business owners, the fiscal year starts in September, right? Churches, they tend to have new programming in September because they've gotten through the slow summer months when everyone's on vacation. Summer just feels like, especially if you have supporters in the US, it feels like, all right, let's get ready. We gotta hunker down and get ready for winter. And it's a natural time to communicate. So inside the academy, we talk a lot about, hey, send these kind of emails, send those types of emails, but you can write a back to school email. You can write up what new things are starting in your ministry in September. And it's simply staying in touch. It's simply letting people know what's going on. It sets the table for you to build the habit of staying in touch and for them to build a habit of hearing from you a little bit more often.
Perfect. So then when after that September and maybe you haven't been talking to them a whole lot in email and you're starting to gear that up in September, then in October, this is a great time to do some storytelling. So tell a story about something that's going on in your ministry, something that, and a lot of times I just say, like, think about something that happened in the last few weeks or even in the last month, and then just tell us the story about that. Did it surprise you? Did it excite you? Like, what was the emotion that was coming from that? And get that down on paper. Once again, just like Mike said, inside of the academy, we have templates that we, have resources for, and sometimes it's talking about, just giving them an idea of something that's going on in that month. I know October is Halloween month. It's also my daughter's birthday month. And so, like, think through what are the things that maybe people are already talking about, share a story around it, and engage your audience, engage the people who are on your email list with something that's going on in the ministry.
Yeah, and I think what you said about it's your daughter's birthday in October, that's free email messaging, right? If you got a birthday, you've got an anniversary, you've got an anniversary in the ministry, I know, just do the math, that several people watching this have birthdays in October. You have some sort of ministry update or anniversary in October. Make a big deal about that. And when Mary talks about telling a story, a quick reframe here. I think a lot of missionaries, before they meet us, especially, is they treat their correspondence like a report. Like, I'm reporting in, you know? And that's not what donors want. They don't want necessarily reports, they want rapport. They want connection. They want to know what's going on. Just on a recent episode, we interviewed James and Kim Boley. And in that, he said, like, hands down, the biggest game changer has been consistent emails. And the responses they got from their donors were like, you're always top of mind because we feel like we know what's going on a consistent basis. I don't always get to all the emails, but I see your names in my inbox, and maybe I'm waiting online getting coffee or something, and I see that email come through and I read it while I'm right online. It's not a huge report. I don't have numbers to crunch in my head. And then I just say a prayer for you. So it's not a report, it's rapport. And in October, you'll find natural things to talk about. We have topics like that in the academy and join the training. But that leads us to November, which is a layup. November, Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving. Okay. Well, how is Thanksgiving celebrated if you're stationed overseas, if at all? How are you, if you're American, how are you celebrating and observing Thanksgiving even when you're off the mainland here, right? there's a lot of things that you can talk about in terms of gratitude. You can say thank you to your donors and say, hey, here's what's been going on. We're so grateful for your support. And then you're going to queue up what's coming in December. Mary, you talk about this, just saying thank you over and over again. And what makes a good thank you? Specificity, right?
Yeah.
Like the
Hmm.
worst is thanks for everything. That you
Right.
expect your daughter to say that because she doesn't have the wherewithal. Thanks for everything, mom. Right. But if I always tell you after 10 years of friendship, thanks for everything, you're like, yeah, you're welcome. But it would be more meaningful if I was specific, right?
For sure. Well, and I think that it comes down to the fact that it's like you actually care about them as a friend, as a connection. And so, yeah, get to the details of what is it that's actually going on. And we're not saying like send individual messages to each person that's on your email list. It's more about like what is it that your donor does for you as a ministry? Like what are they allowing you to do in the ministry that you otherwise wouldn't be able to do? So you can be really specific about, guys, if you weren't praying for us, we wouldn't have gotten our visa. If you guys weren't praying for us, we wouldn't have gotten access to being able to go meet those people at that fall festival that we did. The door wouldn't have even been opened if Mr. So and so, Pastor John hadn't even opened up the door to us. So it's like those are the kinds of things that you want to be really specific about. And then ultimately, hey guys, we couldn't fund this ministry if it wasn't for you. Now, I want to be really clear on this is that we're not asking for any money right now. Okay. And I know that that's so hard, especially if you're used to sending messages asking for money a lot. So, a gratitude message, an email of gratitude is not at, hey, thank you, Mike. Like, Mike, you're amazing. Can I have some more money? like, once again, when you bring up my daughter, it's like, yeah, okay, what are you saying? Are you saying nice things because you want something from me? How many popsicles do you want today? Like you want to make sure that they know, hey, I'm not asking for anything. We are genuinely grateful for the partnership and we just love you guys. Thank you for doing ministry and doing life with us.
Yeah.
Period.
And I actually want to spend a little time here because we get a lot of questions on this because Giving Tuesday
Yeah.
happens in November, right? So this is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. And over all of these years that Mary have done and I've hosted these trainings, we get so many questions. What can we do for Giving Tuesday, if anything? What should I do? Can you just share a little bit about what we tell our people?
Sure. And just to let you know, $4 billion came in last year on Giving Tuesday. $4 billion. Okay. So people are not ignoring the day. And if you're in an international location, you're like, I don't even know what Giving Tuesday is. If you are ministering or you have donors in the US, I highly recommend that you do message on that day. But it's just like Christmas. You don't say, hey, it's Christmas today, because obviously everybody knows it's Christmas, right? Or, hey, something that's a holiday that's on the calendar, most people know. So we don't want you to send out a message that say, hey, it's Giving Tuesday, but more like on this Giving Tuesday, would you prayerfully consider making a special gift? If you are doing something on this day, if you plan to give to an organization, a ministry, would you consider our ministry as you're making those choices today? And some people might be like, I don't even know what this is. But now you told them. And if you have a matching opportunity, like somebody gave you a matching gift, you can also prepare for that where you're like, hey, if somebody gives you a larger donation, that might be a great day to use it as a matching gift. The first $5,000 that's given today will be matched dollar for dollar from one of our generous supporters. So there's ways that you can really utilize that day, but it's a nice kind of holiday that is thrown right in there with Thanksgiving. People are already shopping. It's like it sits right in there with Small Business Saturday and what is it?
Cyber Monday,
Cyber Monday. I was going to
right?
say, what do they
Black
call it now?
Friday.
Exactly. All the shopping days. So all these people who feel super guilty about buying all these things for themselves, then you can just say, hey, throw our name in the hat in the mix of this. But yeah, I highly recommend doing it. But I just want to caution you all that don't bank on that one day. This is all part of your year-end, plan. So you don't have to be like, oh my gosh, all my money has to come in on Giving Tuesday. It's like, nope, we're working throughout the entire calendar these last few months, and this is just part of the plan.
Yeah, and we want to emphasize that is totally optional,
Yeah.
right? Like if you don't normally do that or that's not part of your flow, that's fine. If you do want to try it out, just follow what Mary just shared here. But really where we want to drive all our attention to is now in December. And the December we propose two things to send out. Number one, is what we call a financial recap letter. This is just summing up for your supporters, your donors, at whatever level they are. Just this is where you send the report. And we have templates for this. And I know a lot of people get confused. What should I report there? We have a video where we talk about the ins and outs of that. We'll link to that in the description below or at the end of this video. It's a very popular video because there's a lot of confusion about, should I share these numbers? Do I want people to know how much I'm spending on groceries? Mary unpacks that all for you in that video. But in November, when you send out the correspondence, you're letting them know, hey, in a few weeks in December, I'm going to send you a financial recap letter. And then I'm going to share a little bit of the vision that we feel God has given us for the next year. So in that financial recap letter, you're not just reporting, you're also casting vision. You want this to do two things at one time. So it's a really important thing that you have that laid out. Then a couple of weeks after that, in that little break between Christmas and New Year's or right before Christmas, you send out a full support letter, a full appeal for support, casting the vision that you have for the next calendar year. And then you can send a couple of reminder emails because everyone gets in a frenzy between Christmas and New Year's. This way you have a 4-month plan, 16 weeks. Even if you just email every other week, 8 emails, it's going to make you feel a lot better about sending that appeal for support. And we have seen incredible results. I mean, there's so many, we can't even contain them all in one video. We have videos from last year where we're recounting a lot of the wins that our people had, but that is the 4-month plan. And this is the most important time of the year to raise support. So we want to encourage you to walk into it with intention and with a strategy. This is not a sign of a lack of faith in God. I actually look at it the other way, just like I shared a few minutes ago. Planning and doing what God has told us to do and preparing the way. Don't just sit there, prepare the way, right? So, Mary, any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, I just want to share it because I do think that sometimes people are like, okay, Mike, all right, Mary, like, these are good ideas, but do they actually, turn into anything? And we had interviewed a couple from who do ministry in Paris, Rob and Nicole Plaster, and they have told us specifically that they have sent these letters out. Like they sent the 2 letters out, and $25,000 was given at the end of the year. And one person even shared that they, decided, hey, I've never actually given you guys a raise. I got a bonus at the end of the year. And when I got your letter, I thought to myself, I've never increased my giving to you. My company pays me more at the end of the year every year, but I don't ever increase my giving. And so the letters ultimately prompted those conversations and said, oh my gosh, I haven't even thought about you at the end of the year, So sometimes, and this is where I think we put a lot of pressure on, oh, these letters are going to like make up all of our deficit. They're going to make up the difference in all the money that we haven't raised all year round. But what I'm saying, what we want you to hear is that you're going to work all year round to build relationships. You're going to do all the natural stuff that you normally do to build relationships. And then when this letter comes in, the financial recap letter, and then also this, your actual year-end support letter comes in, then they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I sat in that coffee shop with John and I told him I was going to give him $50 a month and I haven't done it, and then they start to say, oh, shoot, I need to get this done. Right. And so the letter is just, it picks up, it almost like just picks up all those donations of people who may have said yes throughout the year. They didn't do it. And then the ones that maybe thought they wanted to do it, this is a great opportunity for them to say yes. So I don't want to make it seem like there's some magic, but there is real strategy in the fact that it's like you've been working all year round. Don't leave money on the table and utilize these resources to really invite these people in.
Yeah, a couple of other quick wins from people in our academy, and these are all from last year's
Yes.
year-end giving season. So, one couple, we won't name them for sensitivity's sake, but they're in our academy, and they said last year was the first time we started early. Starting through this strategy, nearly $28,000 came in since we began writing way earlier, and this is as they were going. It wasn't even their year-end giving it amount. Another member just sent the 2 letters in December. That's where they started. Several donors gave it year end for the first time in his ministry's history, just over $15,000. And he said, just because we sent the letters. Yet another had 5 home payments that were deferred going into the holidays. Year-end gifts covered every one of those payments in December. So I think what you'll find is that people want to support you. They want to give, but they need to know what you're up to. That's really the bottom line, right? And so taking all of this, these 4 months and building a strategy around it and an intention, that's what we want for you. None of this is asking you to become a salesperson. We're not asking you to become a marketer. We're not asking you to become a fundamentally different person in the way that you operate your ministry day to day. We just want to bridge that gap of relationship and communication between you and your supporters. We say this all the time. So if you watched our other content, forgive me if I keep repeating this, but Mary, there is no such thing as a healthy relationship where you don't communicate. You have to communicate regularly. That's all it is. And if you're in the academy with us, we give you these templates and you adapt them to your needs. Mary, you said before, Robin, Nicole, they send out literally the same support letter template with their details in it. And they've done it for like, what, 5, 6, 7 years?
Yes.
Right? Nobody gets bored because they're keeping in touch through the rest of the year. And it's almost like we said at the top of this episode, there's an expectation. I'm going to give to these guys. They're on my list. They're on my give list. And that's what we want for you.
Yeah. And I think that that's what we forget is that you can't get on the give list if you wait too long. So remember just what we talked about here in September. We're going to send out, we're going to just start. If you haven't done anything, we're going to start. If you've been with us for a while and you're doing it, continue. Okay. Just keep doing what we've told you to do over the last, year, however long you've been with us. And then get those stories out in October. Get your gratitude emails out in November. And in December, let's get those letters out so that people can actually say, oh, let's give to you at the end of the year. And remember, this is tax deductible season for those who are connected in the US, is that it's like a lot of them have to give this money away because they're going to get hit with taxes on it. So, and some have other accounts that they're managing for somebody else that they need to give that money away. You have no idea what's sitting in their accounts. So we just want to put our name in the hat and make sure that you guys are the ones that they're considering at the end of the year. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, every August, we host this free training, how to maximize your year-end giving campaign. We walk through this whole plan in detail. If you're catching this episode in time, make sure that you register for the training. This year, we're holding it on Thursday, August 13th, 2026. We're going to walk you through more in detail of everything that we covered today. It's totally free. The training is totally free. And we update the training every single year for what we're seeing in the space, what we're seeing. Mary talked about some stats earlier, and we're going to have all that reported for you so you can see how you can adjust your strategy. The registration link is in the description of this episode, fullyfundedacademy.com/webinar. And bottom line, year end is the one season on the calendar that you can't reschedule. It arrives once a year. This time of the year arrives once a year. We want to help you start early. And if this video helped you, drop a globe in the comments if this helped. Just wherever in the world you're watching from, you don't have to tell us where you're watching from. Just drop a globe because this is what we want. We want to impact the world. And we hope that you'll join us on that free training.
We're rooting for you guys. We want you to succeed. We'll see you on the next one.
Okay, see you soon.